In pursuance of traditions that are in place since the early 19th century, throngs of descendants of the 1904-08 Namibian genocide convene annually to commemorate the passing of stalwarts who stood firmly against German colonial oppression, torture and warfare. Maherero, a globally renowned icon against colonial occupation, succeeded his father Maherero after his death in 1980 as paramount chief of the Okahandja, and his reign remains one of the most formidable in the history of Namibia. As such, Ombara Manasseh Christian Theraiwa of the Theraiwa Traditional Authority and his entourage marched across the streets of the Garden Town to sacred gravesites where the human remains of both Maherero and senior traditional councillors are laid to rest, to unveil new tombstones and pay their last respects to the fallen heroes. They then proceeded with formal proceedings at Commando No. 1, where speeches from senior traditional councillors, youths, politicians and sympathizers from all walks of life were delivered. Ombara Theraiwa reiterated demands for what he terms reparations commensurate with the genocide committed against the Namibian during colonialism, and for Germany to publicly and unambiguously acknowledge the genocide and unconditionally apologize for its heinous crimes in which approximately 110,000 people perished.
The argument by the government of the Federal Republic of Germany that our people in the diasporas are nationals of other countries and therefore cannot be considered or be part of the current negotiations is completely ill-informed and misplaced in time and context. They are not tourists or economic refugees in those countries, but ended up in those places because of the genocide committed against them by Imperial German forces in Namibia.
Furthermore, a fortnight ago, a resolution emanating from the Chiefs Assembly demanded that the 28th of May be officially reserved for commemorations of the 1904-08 Namibian genocide. Okahandja Mayor Isaskar Katuo appealed for unity amid the infighting, saying during his tenure, fights and verbal slurs amongst rival factions will be a thing of the past at the Okahandja commemorations.
The factional battles which have characterized these activities year in and year out at Okahandja will not see the light of day again. Somebody asked me whether or not I was sure that what happened in the yesteryears will not repeat themselves today. I was adamant to say, no, it will not happen today.
Meanwhile, Ushua Mwinyangwe, a descendant of the genocide victims, spoke plainly on Nudo's stance, saying they reject the declaration as it omits to explicitly acknowledge the act of genocide.
We as Nudo will not accept the joint declaration because it is not explicit in acknowledgement of the genocide. All it does is say by then what happened may be a genocide, but it remains very vague. It doesn't affirm that as Germany we committed genocide against this community, hence we rejected it.
The Federal Republic of Germany, according to a controversial draft declaration, has offered 18.6 billion Namibian dollars to fund projects during a period of 30 years, purportedly as remorse for its colonial crimes against both the Nama and Okahandja communities. The draft declaration has largely been rejected by descendants. OtjiMaherero, NBC News, Okahandja.